Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Media, and this is the 944 Files. This is my 1987 Porsche 944 NA, and this whole series was supposed to be about everything I did to this car, everything I fix on it, every mod I do to it, every adventure with it. But my lack of motivation got the best of me, and I haven't filmed a whole lot with this car, and I apologize for that, because I did hype up this series quite a bit. So instead of going through and piecing together all the low quality video clips that I have filmed, I decided I'm going to start fresh and make one video. And I'm going to go over everything that I've done to the car or fixed on it in the last 7 months that I've owned the car. And we're going to start right here at the front with the pop-up headlights. When I first got the car, the headlights on the car opened and closed just fine. However, right on the front of the headlights, when they're open, there's these plastic bezels that surround the headlight lens. The black plastic on the driver's side headlight bucket that the bezel screws into is broken. So I got a new one of those from Elliot at 944 Barn, and I put that on, and then after I put the assembly back in the car and I hooked everything back up, they didn't want to open and close. So I just had them raised for a solid 6 months, and they never closed again after that. And then recently I went to a pull apart and I found a 944 with all the headlight components. So I took the control shaft, the headlight motor, and the bucket for that side and swapped it all out, and now they work again, and they work flawlessly. And then the next upgrade for that, I'm going to be doing a conversion that I saw on YouTube. There was a guy who did 2009 Jeep Wrangler headlights, just so you have headlight bulbs instead of sealed beam, because these sealed beams suck and I can't see anything at night. So we'll be upgrading to those so this car is drivable at night. Now I don't know if you can see it, but right on the front, I tinted the fog lights yellow because, you know, it looks really cool. So figured I'd point that one out. Up next, I'm going to show you my favorite thing that we've done with the car so far, and that would be these wheels. These are ROH ZR6s, I believe. I think. Don't quote me on it. They are missing the center caps in the front. I need to put them back on. I took them off because I had a flat tire. So, these are 16-inch wheels versus the 15-inch phone dials that the car came on, which made this thing handle terribly. And it had quite possibly the worst fitment in the world. I picked these up back in September of 2024 from Elliot, and I drove this car from here in East Tennessee, 3.5 hours down there, 3.5 hours back, and this car didn't skip a beat. This car is undergoing some work very shortly, so while the car is down, I'm going to pull these wheels off and refurbish them. So I'm going to repolish the wheel lips and then repaint the faces. You can see right here on this wheel, I did kind of polish the lip a little bit, just as a little bit of a test. But I need to go over it again because there's still some sanding marks in it that kind of haze the wheel up a little bit. Plus it needs to be repolished because this thing is filthy, as you can see. Another thing I'd like to point out about these wheels is how much wider they are in the back compared to the 15-inch phone dials, which I will throw a before and after picture up. And they fill out the rear arches a whole lot better, although I think I'm still going to do some spacers just so they sit flush. And if you come just a little bit closer, you'll see I added a badge on here because the car didn't come with one when I bought it. I did run into a little bit of a mishap where this door handle broke a few months ago, and about a week ago, it broke again. But this time I have a script handle to put on this door because on the passenger side there is a script handle, and this side's never had one. Let me show you a little bit around the interior. So starting off, the first thing you notice is these custom Phase 2 motor trim floor mats. These are prototypes, and they should be available to the public very soon. They're very cool. I love them a lot. These are, like I said, these are prototypes, so they are a little bit big, but the production versions will be a little bit smaller so that they fit perfectly. Like most 944s, this one didn't have a working odometer, so that's something else that I fixed. Took me like 30 minutes, super easy to do. And while I was there, I colored in these faded needles. This car also features a only 944 short shifter kit for the 5-speed manual, When I first bought the car, I didn't like it at all, but I have grown to love it, and I probably wouldn't go back to a stock one. If you come down here to my ashtray, I have 2 ashtrays, and this one was a spare one I had laying around. I saw this guy on Facebook who did this, where he cut the top of it out and then carpeted the inside, and I like the way that looked, so I gave it my best shot, and I think it looks really nice in the interior. Plus, I still have the stock one, so I can swap them in and out if I want to. Coming back around to the front of the car, I wanted to mention that I did do a ball joint job because the ball joints made noises every time I went around a corner. So I did those, and I resprayed the control arms because they were really ugly and gross. And while I was in there, I did inner and outer tie rods. So she drives a little bit better in the front. Coming around to the engine bay, in my 7 months of ownership, I have also done a water pump and timing belt job with the help of my buddy Gabe. And I did a windshield washer fluid reservoir delete temporarily because it was busted and yellow and wasn't even hooked up. The slime was just cut. So in terms of fixing things, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. So now I'm going to go around the car and tell you what I need to fix next. It needs brakes really bad. This door handle needs to be fixed so I don't have to crawl in through the passenger side or leave my window down, which leads me to my next problem. I am on my second window switch with this car because the driver's side window switch keeps deciding to break and not work. So I have this dangling here so that I can connect the driver's side harness to the passenger side switch, and I can roll it up and down. So instead of buying a used switch, I think I just need to go ahead and buy a brand new one because they're like $5. I really don't think there's anything that pisses me off more than when I go to put my hand here and this thing does nothing but rattle and slide around and usually comes off because like every 944 ever, the hinge is broken. So I need to order a new one of those. Other than that, the cassette tape holder is intact. I just kind of use it for storage, but this is a problem. This is a problem. This ugly dual radio is a problem. I'm going back to an OEM radio. This is pretty annoying. I plan on swapping the interior over to a black interior, so I will have a full black dashboard, so this won't be an issue, and the fact that it does the same down here won't be an issue, because whoever rewrapped this dash did a terrible job. Up here would be a good example. These don't want to go back down into their holes. Fixing the AC would be a big priority of mine. All I need is an AC condenser because my condenser is cracked. Putting a properly working instrument cluster in would be nice because this one I did the LED conversion. Can this camera focus? I did the LED light conversion, just a little strip that goes on the bottom down here. I would like to have working ambers again one day. Got to figure that one out. Don't know how. I need to figure out my hatch situation so that trunk button right there works again. I know I mentioned black interior swap, but it is really bad because the carpet just does that. And this bezel for the window switches won't screw all the way up because it's the door card tore. The headliner needs to be fixed. The powered sunroof needs to be fixed. The hatch needs to be fixed because, like every 944 ever, it's delaminating from the frame up here, so it doesn't open right, and the latches don't work either. Coilovers are on my list because this car sits way too high. I'm going to do a turbo valence in the rear to make the car look less naked, and then in the front, I'm going to do a turbo nose swap. The car desperately needs motor mounts because it vibrates terribly. There's a bunch of oil leaks that need to be fixed. I haven't decided if I want to pull the motor or leave it in and just do a few of them for now. I got to give a huge shout out to my amazing girlfriend for getting me these cup holders from, I think, Botter Manufacturing in Canada. I got one for both sides, and it is a game changer because now my large drink from Zaxby's that the underpaid employee didn't put the lid on fully will not spill in my lap ever again. All right, so it is time. I'm going to back the car out and then back it into the garage because with the door open, there'll be more room. Hello, Millie. We're going to get the motor pulled out and hopefully back in the car in time to take it to Riverside, which is at the end of March. All right, this is one last cold start. As you can hear by that cold start, it needs a few things like an alternator, probably a battery, it needs a new starter, and battery cables. But while I'm letting it warm up just a little bit, let's move this car out of the way. Old reliable. All right, so I don't have the engine hoist yet. I'm gonna borrow that from a buddy of mine. But we're gonna start with the basics. So we're gonna get the air filter box out of the way. We're gonna start unplugging things. I'm gonna start with the battery. I'm gonna start getting ready to pull the wiring harness through the firewall. We'll get the car off the ground, unbolt the strut towers and the cross member and all that stuff, and just get ready to drop it out. I know the garage is really cluttered right now. I'm working on it, but I got the engine stand here ready to go. So once we get it out, we can put it on the stand, and then I can immediately tear it apart. I'm going to order everything, hardware, seals, all that stuff, and hopefully put it all back together and have it on the ground and running better for Riverside. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to start with removing the battery terminals. This one's kind of almost rounded off, so it's a little difficult. Oh, drop that. So we're about to find out how bad my battery tray actually is, because I know it's rusted out and it leaks a little bit of water into the floorboards, but we're going to find out. I hate winter time. I haven't even been out here for a minute and a half and my fingers are already frozen solid. Let alone these cold tools that have been sitting in my trunk. Oh, I didn't realize it's because I'm using a short socket. Alright. This pesky little bracket. Okay. Now the battery should come out. I'm going to get the vacuum and vacuum all this stuff out and see if I can find that water leak. So I can't seem to find any, like, obvious areas where there would be a leak. I'm thinking maybe right under there, but I can't see. So at some point later on, I'll probably pour a little bit of water in there just to see where it goes. Now let's get this thing off. And I hate this thing. I've pulled this thing off a million times and I hate removing it. So let's remove it. All right, so to remove this, you're gonna want your 10 millimeter for these 3 bolts, an 8 millimeter for this bolt clamp on the J-boot, and then either a 6 millimeter or a flat screwdriver. Now, while I have the airbox and map assembly out, I'm going to repaint this bracket. Now that I got that out, I'm going to get down here with a drain pan and drain all the coolant out of the main part, and then we'll drain the block when the motor's on the stand. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. In episode 3, we're going to start pulling wires and plugs and hoses and all that type of stuff, and hopefully get close to unbolting everything so that we can raise the car and drop the motor out. If you made it this far in the video, you're a real one. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a little bit different than what I'm used to. And I'll see you in the next one.